Hi everyone. On April 10th, the Holy Orthodox Church celebrates the memory of the holy new martyr Demos. Now, Saint Demos lived in a suburb of Adrianople and worked at a fishery near Smyrna. Fishermen, of course, were very common during that time, and he had spent most of his life doing this sort of thing, but in this case, he had spent over a year at a particular fishery working for his Ottoman overseer, who was basically underpaying him and was considering him to be in debt because of that. Demos was not very happy with this. But after the year had passed, another Turkish owner took over this particular fishery and wanted Demos to have his debt remitted and then continue working on at the fishery. Well, Demos understood that this line of work that he was in at this particular place was not exactly profitable for him, and so he refused, even though there were other Christians in the area that were suggesting that it would be better for him to continue. But he would not. He wanted to move on. Well, the new owner was not happy about this at all. In fact, he was furious. He was enraged. And so he took upon himself to take Demos to court and to say that Demos had said that if he was released from his duties at the fishery, then he would become a Muslim. Well, Demos, in shock by all this and completely denying it, didn't know what to do. But the grace of the Holy Spirit that was residing in Demos, because he was a very faithful man, did show him what to do. And so he said most vehemently, I am not going to become a Muslim. I never said that I would become a Muslim under any circumstances. But yet they brought in more witnesses who said, oh, yes, indeed, he did say this. So it was a bit of a scam here in order to entrap him. But Demos simply said, that's not true. They're lying. I did not say that, and I'm not going to do that. Even if you torture me, I'm willing to give up my life for Jesus Christ, whom I love. Well, the judge wasn't too happy about hearing that last part, but he had already decided to side with the witnesses that were speaking against Demos. And so he had him thrown into prison. But before he went in, they took him by the legs and gave violent, brutal blows to the soles of his feet. Then after that, they put manacles around his feet and even put particles of wood and brick inside there so that the pain would be even more intense. Well, Demos was not giving in at that point, and he was relying solely on his God to get him through all of this. Well, there was a man named Nicholas who came visiting, who went in to the prison and ate with Demos and had conversations with him, and basically encouraged him to go the course towards martyrdom. Demos certainly took this to heart, and for 3 different times the judge had him brought out of jail for even more torments, more tortures, more threats, yet more flatteries as well, and enticements for all good things if he would but convert, and Demos still refused to do so. So after a long time in prison and going through these various horrible tortures that they were inflicting upon him, he was beheaded by the sword in the year 1763. Fortunately, God, who always gets the last word in these things, saw to it that a certain man, the day after Demos was murdered, well, he proclaimed him basically as a martyr for the sake of the Lord. This occurred on the Sunday of the Paralytic, which occurs in the season of the Pentecostarian following Holy Pascha. And from that time forth, many people would come to his grave with all sorts of requests. One man who had injured his thumb terribly, so that he could not even pick up a pen. It hurt so bad, and he made his living with his hands. He came and pressed his thumb against the tombstone of St. Demas's grave, and it was healed. His wife, who had been blind for 3 years, including one blindness that she had had from birth in one eye, the other eye had gone too, and she came and was also healed at St. Demas's grave. So there were many, many people in the years following that received healing from the new martyr's grave and by his intercession with the Lord. Well, after a while, they, as is the custom, opened up his grave and found that there was a marvelous odor coming from the grave, a smell that was just so wondrous that it was like being in heaven itself. And even to this point in time, in this day and age, people will flock to his grave in order to ask St. Demas, through his ability and advantage of being close to the Lord, for their own healing. Because St. Demas, having had a noble profession, just like the apostles did, who were also mainly fishermen, was also encouraged and offered the grace to preach to those who were not of the faith, as did the apostles. And as the apostles had lain down their lives for the sake of the Lord, so Demas was also able to do this, having become a true theologian through the incredible difficulties that he went through, and the great spiritual graces that he enjoyed, and the great spiritual advancement that he enjoyed through these very sufferings. So there are many, many ways to the Lord, who picks different people in many varied situations to be his martyrs, his witnesses. St. Demas is one who was relatively close to our time, and certainly is not going to be the last to lay down his life for the Lord, as we have seen over the subsequent centuries. By his prayers, may we always find the courage to confess Christ boldly, no matter what our circumstances and no matter what sort of situation we may find ourselves in, even if it's something very menial or something that is actually very insignificant in our own eyes. We still need to be able to proclaim Christ, and we do that by doing what St. Demas did, bringing the Lord into our hearts and then asking him to speak for us.